And then like a seat that they can like sit in. What else do you do with seats? Hi, Bookish Baddies, and welcome back to Bookish Chaos. I'm Shay, and today we are going to talk about Morning Glory Milking Farm by C.M. Nascosta. Okay, so we're going to get the things that I didn't like out of the way first. Literally, it was basically just one line. At the beginning of the book was a little rough as far as like the phrase, a strange prickle of apprehension prickled up her neck. No. Also, then she had another line that said, she had no clue what caused the sudden premonition to squeeze her heart. So a premonition is a strong feeling that something is about to happen, but it was just the way that it was put in that specific context that I didn't like. We start and we meet Violet. Violet is our FMC. She is a girl who has debt, school debt from getting a degree. And she needs to pay off her debt and all of her entry-level jobs for the job that she's qualified for what she went to school for, are too low for her to be able to A, afford her really shitty rent for her really small shitty apartment, and B, pay off any of her debt. So she starts looking for jobs and she finds an application for a job at a place called Morning Glory Milking Farm. And she's like, that sounds interesting. I don't know what it entails, but it comes with decent pay and full benefits. So maybe I should check it out. So she applies for the job. She has an in-person interview. She has an over the camera on the computer interview, a Zoom interview, and she gets hired for the job. And so she watches all the training videos. At first she's like, what do minotaurs have to do with milking? And then she realizes what minotaurs have to do with milking. Okay, this is going to be a spoilery review for the rest of the book. Okay? You can kind of guess where it's going. The cover, you saw it at the beginning of this video, is clearly a woman and a minotaur together. So, when we are talking about what do minotaurs have to do with milking farms, I do like that she brings up how things were created to benefit men in our world. Seatbelts, cold offices, certain medicines, and this farm is used to create Viagra, which in this world is created from minotaur semen. So she does all the training, and I'm going to read this from the book because I didn't write it down. She was really excited. She does all the practicing. She learns how to use all the machines. She watches the training videos a bajillion times. She does like that she gets to like shadow someone first because she learns a lot of valuable information. The additional knowledge passed on by her training partner was invaluable. Information not included in the binders, and now she knew the difference between the earners, the clock watchers, and casual clients, and had been slightly horrified to learn about the good little cows. So, the earners could account for every drop of semen they produced, practically earning a second income from their output. Nice work, if you could get it, she thought privately. The pop and goes were the minotaurs who visited the farm infrequently, sometimes for the very first time, who were unprepared for the sensation of the sucking, milking machine nozzles, ejaculating almost immediately and leaving the room just as quickly, unable to meet the tech's eye no matter how they'd blustered when their pants were still on. The clock watchers tended to be businessmen, always on their way to somewhere else. The milking process was a transaction to those bulls, and they rarely vocalized on the breeding bench, remaining as still as they might have during a prostate exam in the doctor's office. They were slightly intimidating, and her least favorite type of client. She decided in the few days she'd been observing on the collection floor. And the good little cows. They really like to push the fantasy of being milked. It's a fetish thing for them, and they tend to be the very best tippers. So it's just something to tolerate. But, she went on, raising her thin eyebrows, pointing at the ceiling, the suits are serious about keeping everything professional. So if any client ever tries to push the envelope too far, you end their session, report them, and they won't be welcomed back. We have her first day on the job. She has her first client. It goes really well. She ends up at one point with her first clock watcher. She gets a really good tip, like $100 bill. And for some reason, this particular clock watcher did something for her. Just like the noises he makes and like the speed at which the thrusting was happening and like many other things. So much so that she had to go home and take care of herself. So then we go a few weeks later, she gets to work and she finds out she has a request. We jump to a few weeks later. She has a really bad day, one where like none of the machines are working right. She struggles at one point to get the milking machine nozzle to come on so the point is you are supposed to do some hand milking, and then before you get to that actual point, the point of arrival, you put the machine on and the machine collects everything and deposits it into bottles, and then there is a little sticker that you put on for their particular one. So she is like in the middle of her stuff and she realizes that she has this binder that has a purple sticker on it, and she's like, what is this? And the person who caught it was like, hey, wait, you have this. It's a request. Now, the bulls are allowed to put in requests, but if your requested person happens to not be working that day, you're just kind of shit out of luck, and it's fine. And we find out that her request was, Mr. I'm going to go home and take care of myself after dealing with him. He was clothed when she came in, and he made small talk about how she's doing today, and she's talking about how she had a bad day, and he huffs. He's like, pff, and she bites her lip, which is inappropriate, but she has a mask on, so it's fine. He asked her if she was done with school, and she was like, is this to gauge my age? Is he trying to make sure, like, maybe Minotaur women age differently than humans, and maybe I look like a child to him? That was part of it. He's being respectful. He's like, I'm not into young girls. If you're a child, maybe we shouldn't be doing this, you know. This all happens before he puts himself in the slat. So it's kind of like a big seat elevated from where the girls sit. So the girls sit down here and the bulls are up here. And there's like a hole for things to hang down. And and like it's like a board with like a hole in it. And then like a seat that they can like sit in. What else do you do with seats? And that's how you get the things done. Okay, so we go through this encounter, and the entire thing is her talking about being wet for a client. She's like, this is inappropriate. She gets home and she handles herself. The author uses the word folds. I hate that word. I will mention how much I hate that word every single time. But while she's handling herself, she thinks about the way that he was running into the board, and she imagines him running into her that slowly. And I was like, I'm into that. That sounds delicious. Let's do it. Okay. Okay, so 2 weeks later, she's on the phone with her mom, and she lies about her job. She says she works for a pharmaceutical company, and then her mom is like, hey, this old crush of yours is moving back home to stay with his parents while he gets divorced. You guys should go on a date. And she's like, Mom, I'm just so busy. I just work so much. I couldn't possibly. She gets off the phone with her mom, goes to work. Hot Bull is back, and her last client of the day. And this is where I figured out that she has an authority kink, because when his voice is commanding, she comments on it, and she's like, if he would ask me in that commanding voice to do anything, I would do it. And I'm like, you have an authority kink. Good for you, my girl. They talk for a while, and she learns that there are 2 more facilities nearby that do the milking. And there was actually one in the city that she lives in, which she didn't know about because this is in another city like half an hour away. So she starts to wonder where he lives, because at this point, they've been seeing each other once a week for this appointment for a couple weeks. And so she begins being a little bit stalkerish and driving through the small town that she works in, through the residential sections, looking at the sizes of the houses and wondering what kind of creature lives there and what kind of creature lives there. Because this is a world where humans and magical creatures intermingle, but like the big city that she lives in is mostly populated by humans and the magical creatures are the minority, versus this small town, which is like this whole book is cozy. Small town, magical creatures, girl meets minotaur, falls in love. Anyway, so on their next Friday, she has 2 cancellations in the middle of the day. So she goes and meets this girl who she learned was a vampire at the coffee shop. And her name is Galus. Her and Galus are becoming fast friends. So she's like, Galus, hey, guess what? I have like 2 hours of time to kill. You want to go to the coffee shop? So while she's waiting to get her order, Galus is like, I got my order. I'll go wait at the table. And she's like, okay. So she's getting her coffee and she hears a voice behind her. And she's like, there's no fucking way. I was daydreaming about this guy. And then I hear him. He's like, I'll get her coffee and my usuals. And then he like gently touches her back to like move her out of the way. And you know, she could feel his hand through her clothes. My notes say, and he gently touches her back to love her. It was to move her. I was listening to this on the way home from Wyoming, so some of my notes are a little bit wackadoo because I was typing on my phone while I was listening. Okay, we learn that his name is Rourke, and the lady behind the counter asks him if him and Luriel will be coming to her next like cookout that she has. And Violet jumps to, oh, he must be taken. Right? And then she notes, like, the bull ring in his nose. And she's like, I wonder if that's, like, a marriage thing. He's probably married. I'm lusting after this guy who's probably married. What the hell is wrong with me? I wrote, I'm going to guess it's his sister or something. So he's like, do you want to sit down? And she's like, actually, I'm meeting someone. So I'll see you at our appointment. And he's like, a date? And he's like, oh, a lunch date? And she's like, yeah. Because she's like, well, he's married. So, yeah, I'm going to tell him I'm on a date because he's married. I shouldn't be having these feelings. He shouldn't be having feelings for me. He's married. Let's not do this. Galus, she gets over there and Galus is like, who is that hot slice of beef? Right there. I saw that. I saw him touch you. I saw you guys talking and you were like into it. And she's like, he's married, Galus. It's fine. We're not going to talk about it. So when they meet up for the appointment, when he gets to the room and she walks in, she decides to make the small talk by asking about the bull ring in his nose. He tells her it's traditionally a marriage thing. You get married, you use the bull ring to show that you are taken. She's like, of course he's fucking married. And then he goes, but I've been divorced for a few years now. I just haven't had it taken out. He's like, I've been worried about, the pain that could come from it. There's a lot of nerves around it. I just never got it done. He asks her how her lunch date was. And she's like, it was good. And so she's like, who is Luriel? Just jumping right to it. They get very straightforward right away. And he's like, that is my neighbor. She and I used to go to this person's barbecues all the time. And she's like, my lunch date was my friend Galus. She's a vampire. They talk about Galus a little bit because he's like, I didn't think vampires drank coffee. And she's like, she gets tea, but she mostly just sits there and smells it because she says she likes to remember. So at this point, we have been seeing Rourke for a couple months. At work, obviously. So she has to leave for her great aunt's funeral, so she's gone for 2 weeks. And before she went on vacation to the funeral, it's vacation because she's gone for 2 weeks. But before she went, she was training a new girl who's like really rough on the men. And so she gets back from her great aunt's funeral, which was very sad for her because she lost her grandma really early. So her great aunt was more like a grandma to her. So it was really hard for her. So she gets back and she has Rourke as an appointment. And Rourke is like, you left me with that terrible trainee. I don't remember what he calls her. It's like something about hands. I don't know. Anyway, so Rourke is like, you left me with that trainee. I was chafed after her. And so he's like, it's strange. You see someone every week. You talk to them. You're a part of they're a part of your routine. They become a part of your life. You share a certain level of intimacy with them. You miss them when they're gone. You can almost convince yourself you know them because you start to fill in blanks on your own, but you never really know. And she's like, how did he know that I was thinking about that? And he's like, you never answered me. Where were you? And he was like, there was a death in the family. There was a death in the family. And he's like, I'm so sorry to hear that. Was it someone close? And she's like, yeah. And he's like, let's get out of here. Come grab some coffee with me. You can tell me about them. So they go out. Okay, I don't know where it is. I don't know where the paragraph was. I wrote in my notes, she did a good job of explaining white privilege to species instead of race in one paragraph. And I really wish that I could find that paragraph. This is not the part that I wanted, but I'll read it. She's like, I didn't realize minotaurs lived in groups just like orcs. And he said they normally don't. This was a very isolated community, human towns all over. Goddess knows why other species stayed put in areas like that, but if they did, they usually stuck together. It's not always safe to be surrounded by humans that way. That's why you see things like servitor herds and wolf packs. I can't find it. I can't find the paragraph that I wanted. I can't find it. But after she goes on this date, a couple days with Rourke, she starts to notice all of the magical creatures that live in her big city that she never noticed before, and all of the things that they have to do. Like, she's at the grocery store, and there's an orc mom, I think, with a child who's, like, struggling with a lot of stuff. So she, like, lets her in, and she lets her go first, and she offers to help pay for some of it, and it's, like, a whole thing where she starts to finally notice how humans treat the magical creatures in human towns, like the big city that she lives in, versus the difference of how everything is in Cambric Creek. And it was just a really good explanation for, like, as a person who is white, it's easy to not notice the way that people treat other people of other races. And when you do start to notice that, for example, if you were to befriend someone who was black or someone who was Hispanic, and they talk to you about what it was like growing up for them, and then you started to notice you're around people of other races, and you can see how the other white people interact or treat or look at, side eye, those little pieces of hidden, I'm going to call it hidden racism. It's like ingrained racism that you, honestly, a lot of people just don't realize that they're doing. She did a really good way of explaining that. But in this case, it's magical creatures versus humans. Okay, they start going on more dates, and then they're going on the big date. And she's like, I need to have sex now. And so she's like, Galus, I don't know what I'm going to do. I want to have sex with him, but I can't afford to go get my hair taken care of. And Galus is like, I was a cosmetologist in another life. I will wax you. So while they're at dinner, she scoots really close to him because they're at this place where they're sitting next to each other, and he puts his hand on her hip. And while his hand is on her hip, he's like circling his hand on her hip. And he realizes that there's no other lines underneath of the skirt that she's wearing. And he's like, oh. And so he starts fingering her while they're at lunch. And then he's like, or at supper, and he's like, we gotta go. And she's like, yeah, we do. And when they get there, she's like, let's do it. And he's like, no. First of all, your apartment is too small for me. I'm a minotaur. Also, you have nothing here for me to prepare you for me, because I am a minotaur. He's half man, half bull kind of situation, if you know what I'm saying. So he goes down on her at her apartment, and then he's like, but tomorrow you come to my house. So she does, and they finally bone. He starts by going down on her again, which is apparently going to be a thing that happens every single time, and more power to him. getting her ready, since he is a minotaur and she is a human, he expresses that he wanted her to know that he wants her and not just what she could give to him sexually. Because he does really love her tiny little hands. And it's the best sex that she's ever had. Understandable. He is a minotaur. We jump forward months later, and they've been spending a lot of time together, going on walks through town together. She stays weekends at his house, blah, 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 blah. She has a meeting coming up for a job in her field in Cambric Creek. And so the option is for her to move closer to him. She doesn't want to move in with him yet because she's not ready for that. But she's like, I'm nervous. So she's like, I'm going to be distracting. She's like, I want to get up and go do things and be distracted. So she gives him some head in the way that she can, which is like not how we would do it, because let me take this straw out of here. Because my guy, we're talking. That ain't happening. I'm just saying. So, they do go out and she's, gets distracted like she wants to. So, she asks Rourke if he wants her to quit the farm. And he's like, no. I go to the farm. Obviously, I understand your job. I wouldn't want you to quit it, even if it made me uncomfortable, which it doesn't. He's like, I kind of would have no right for it to make me uncomfortable. Look at how we met. So she's like, if I get the new job, I kind of want to stay on at the farm like 2 days a week. I really enjoy it. It's a good job. I love the people that I work with, not the clients, the people. And it's just been it was the thing that changed her life. And she's like, I'm not ready to give that up yet. And he's like, I would not want you to give it up. So she's talking. She's like, I would miss even some of the clients. And she tells him about the clients. And he almost dies when she tells him about the good little cows. And then he gets up on the bed and is like, milk me like one of your French cows. Anyway, so she decides she's going to keep the 2 jobs a week. One at the farm. She'll just work 2 days a week at the farm. So the next day comes, it's time for the interview, but she wants to get all of the really difficult stuff out of the way. So she calls her mom while she's waiting for the interview to happen, and she tells her mom she has an interview, she will be moving. Her mom wants her to move back home and date the boy that she had a crush on in middle school. And she's like, no, Mom, I will be moving, but I will be moving to a different town. It will be a smaller town like you wanted, but I want to be closer to my boyfriend. And her mom's like, you're what? And so then she has to tell her mom that her boyfriend is a minotaur, but it's really funny the way that she does it, because she just like rattles it out. She's like, blah, 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 blah. He's a minotaur. He treats me really good. He lives in the town that I'm moving to. Okay, I gotta go. Love you, Mom. Bye. Click. So she gets the job and she finds out while she's at work and right before going in to milk Rourke. And they talk about her new job and her new apartment. And he's like, how long is your lease for? And she's like, well, specifically for this amount of time and then month to month after that. And like he's hinting at like maybe he wants their relationship to be more. And she's like, maybe eventually. And then he's like, I want you to do something for me. I got a question to ask you. And she's like, okay. And it's immediately after they're having this like borderline serious conversation about the possibilities of her living situations in the future. He's like, so there's this new place that just opened up and I really want this specific kind of ice cream, but it's kind of like a kid's place and I don't really want to go in there. You want to go get that ice cream for me when you get off work? Also, I won't be sharing this ice cream with you. And she's like, WTF. And then the book ends. I needed more, ma'am. I needed you to feed me more. I needed more Rourke. Ooh, I needed more of Rourke and Violet. It was amazing. I needed more. There are like 6 books in the Cambric Creek series. They're like standalones. The end, there's like an acknowledgments and a author's note thing at the end where she brings up that Rourke and Violet might be in future books, just like as popping characters. I'm sure we'll probably get a book for Galus, and we'll probably get a book for Luriel, and I'm sure we will. But I wanted more Violet and Rourke. Was this the weirdest book I've ever read? Yes. Yes, it was. Is it officially my first 5-star read of 2026? Yes. Also, yes, it is. You need to read this book. Oh my god, it's amazing. Ignoring the few things at the beginning that I disliked, that's manageable. That's deal withable. Do it. Read this fucking book. You will love it. It's amazing. Oh my god. If you don't like dirty talk, though, don't read it. Rourke's really into dirty talk. Like, really, really into dirty talk. So, if that's a thing you don't like, maybe don't read this book. Thank you for watching. Make sure that you like the video, share it with all of your friends, and subscribe to the channel. If you don't subscribe to the channel, you, my friend, are not a bookish baddie. You are just a person who likes books. If you would like to be a bookish baddie, subscribing is how you do that. If you're okay with just being a person who likes books and you don't want to be a bookish baddie, then I guess don't subscribe. Either way, I will see you next time. Bye, guys.